If you've ever felt short of breath while running, you've probably wondered how you can breathe easier while you're running. The good news is that there's an answer to make running easy for you. The bad news is that most content creators out there have given runners band-aid breathing techniques that only work in very specific circumstances, and they don't even address the reason why you're short of breath while running. In this video, we're going to give you the real answer for how to breathe when running. Our method will solve the issue for good and help you breathe easier no matter the type of running you're doing. What's up, motivators? My name is Taryn. When ordinary people want to accomplish something extraordinary in endurance sports, they choose our totally free Motive training plans. You're ready to take on that next big challenge? Let's do it. First things first, let's fix what's causing you to be short of breath when running, then we'll get into a breathing technique right after that. Let's say that you want to run at a 10-minute per mile pace. It doesn't matter what pace you actually run because we're just explaining something here. Running that pace requires a certain amount of energy for all of us. To explain this really simply, let's just say that running at 10 minutes per mile takes 100 units of energy for us to run. Our body produces all of the energy that we have available to us with something that's called mitochondria that is in every single cell of our body. And they take the food that we consume and the oxygen that we breathe in and turn it into energy. Now, new athletes don't have a lot of mitochondria because the way to build up mitochondria is by exercising more. So when you start running, because you don't have a lot of mitochondria, the mitochondria that you do have has to work overtime and create these 100 units of energy every single minute. So to produce these 100 units of energy, the body and the mitochondria have to work overtime really quickly, over and over and over, bringing in more and more oxygen by breathing heavier and having a heart rate beat faster to create the 100 units of energy. If you have more mitochondria in all of your cells, your body won't have to breathe as hard because it isn't going to have to go through that cycle nearly as much to get this 100 units of energy. That cycle will happen much slower, your heart rate will come down, your breathing will be much more in control, and you'll have a much easier time running faster and longer without getting tired. How you increase your mitochondria is with a very specific form of low-intensity exercise called Zone 2 running. We have other videos about Zone 2 running, but generally, you want 70 to 80% of your total running to be at a very low speed where you're increasing your mitochondrial density. This is so important for athletes to follow this guideline that all of our training plans follow a pyramidal model where most of the workouts throughout the year are done at this low intensity level. Whether it's a long run for a marathon training plan, a long bike for a triathlon training plan, or even a recovery run for a 5K training plan, we focus heavily on building up our athletes' mitochondrial density so they have a bigger engine to produce more energy in a much easier way. This alone is going to improve your breathing when you run, but it takes months and years of consistent work. You still need to know how to breathe easier while you're running right now. What most information out there about run breathing does is it gives one single breathing technique, but you shouldn't breathe the same way during all of your runs. There are 3 different ways to breathe depending on what type of running you're doing, and I'll give you a bonus trick for how to breathe during a race. The first method of breathing is for when you're running really slowly during your Zone 2 runs. When you're running at a low intensity, you want your body to burn as much fat as possible. Our body fat is a near limitless supply of energy, so if we can tap into it, our run endurance will be amazing. A trick to burn more fat while running is to breathe through your nose and not your mouth. But it is absolutely brutal to breathe just through your nose. So what you can do is breathe in through your nose for 4 or 5 foot strikes, then out through your mouth for 4 or 5 foot strikes. You'll have to play with the number of foot strikes both in and out, but it should be somewhere in the 4 to 6 steps for breathing in and 4 to 6 steps for breathing out. This nice calm breathing will burn more fat and keep your heart rate and breathing under control. The next method of breathing works best when you pick up the pace a little, but you're not going all out. This is called your tempo pace, steady pace, or Zone 3 and low Zone 4 running paces. At these paces, we want to keep our breathing under control, but let the breathing happen just a little more naturally so we give our body all the oxygen that it needs. With this breathing technique, you want to forget about nasal breathing and breathe just through your mouth. When you're running faster, people will need to breathe faster as well. So instead of 4 to 6 foot strikes breathing in and out, it should be more like 2 to 3 foot strikes in and out. Some people breathe on a 3-2 pattern. I personally like breathing on a 2-2 pattern, while others are in a 2-3 pattern. Again, breathe through your mouth and test out what pattern is exactly the most natural one for you. Finally, the last breathing method is for when you're running all out, doing intervals up at the top of zone 4 or in zone 5. This is your fast running pace. During this running pace, you shouldn't actually be concerned about your breathing at all. Studies show that when you're doing your fast interval work, you should focus solely on maintaining the effort level, not on running with a specific form or specific breathing technique. Just have your target pace and go. The key to making this work, however, is that you need to have done a lot of zone 2 running with the right breathing technique and a lot of that moderate running with something like the 2-2 breathing technique. If you've been doing your zone 2 run breathing technique and your zone 3 breathing technique, then when you step up to this interval running, you will instantly start breathing correctly and it'll just be natural for you during these harder runs. That's why in our training plans, our runs always have a very sequential build week to week where we gradually make the intervals longer and faster throughout a training plan so that our body, our heart, and our lungs can gradually develop from one ability to the next without a massive shock or surprise to the system that it doesn't know how to handle. Now, I promised you a bonus breathing trick during races. If you're racing a long race like a half marathon, marathon, ultra marathon, a half Ironman, or an Ironman, you want to keep your heart rate as low as possible because spikes in heart rate will create a big energy deficit that you'll have to pay for later in the race. However, keeping your heart rate low can be really hard when you're in the excitement of a race. So to bring your heart rate down, you should focus on taking really long, deep breaths into your belly and not your chest. Over the course of about 30 to 60 seconds, this will bring your heart rate down by as much as 5 to 10 beats per minute. You can even do this while you're practicing your zone 2 running and your heart rate is climbing out of your target heart rate zone. Don't go anywhere because I'll link to a video on exactly how to do zone 2 running correctly in just a second. But if you want a free personalized training plan for any race you want to enter, from 5K all the way up to ultra marathon, from sprint triathlons all the way up to Ironmans, check out the Motive training app that uses all of the training methods we talk about here, and you can use the app completely for free. As promised, zone 2 running is one of the hardest things runners will have to learn if they want to run faster, longer, and stay injury-free. So we created the 7-minute video that's on the screen now that will teach you everything you need to know about how to run with a low heart rate. Click it to find out how to set up your low heart rate training system. Later, motivators.